Welcome to Sleepy Classic Tales. Tonight, we listen to The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, first published in 1915. This is our own calm and gently told short version, clearly structured, easy to follow, and created for falling asleep. Part 1. The Impossible Awakening. Gregor Samsa, a young traveling salesman, wakes up one morning in his small bedroom. Outside, it is still dim. The alarm clock ticks. A tram screeches somewhere in the distance. Everything sounds like an ordinary workday, except for his body. When Gregor tries to stretch, he feels that his back is hard and curved, like armor. Instead of arms, he sees thin, twitching legs flailing helplessly in the air. When he tries to turn his head, he bumps into feelers that move on their own, as if they had a life of their own. Slowly, he understands. He has turned into a gigantic insect. The thought is so unreal that Gregor does not panic at first. Instead, he thinks of schedules. He calculates the time, the train connections, the trouble the chief clerk will cause if he does not arrive at work on time. The transformation feels like an inconvenient interruption in his work routine. He tries to roll out of bed, but the armored body is heavy and each leg moves differently. Every time he nearly reaches the edge, he tips back onto the mattress. The effort exhausts him, but he does not give up. He must go to work, he tells himself. Everything else must be pushed aside. Behind the door, the household begins to wake. His mother knocks gently and asks why he has not gotten up yet. Gregor answers, but his voice no longer sounds the same. The words come out distorted and rasping, as if pressed through a foreign instrument. His mother only understands that something is wrong. Soon his father calls out, short and impatient. Then Greta, his sister, softly and with concern. The longer Gregor remains in bed, the greater the unrest in the hallway becomes. He hears his father muttering curses, his mother whispering anxiously. Finally, another voice joins them, the chief clerk from the firm. He has come to check on the reliable employee who has never missed a day of work. The voices overlap behind the door. They speak of duty, of lateness, of ingratitude. No one suspects what is truly happening inside the room. To them, Gregor is still the young man who rises early every day, carries his sample cases, and brings money home. At last, Gregor decides to open the door. Every additional moment only worsens his situation. With great effort, he crawls toward it. His many legs slip on the floor. He must constantly reorient himself, learning step by step how this body even functions. The door handle is too high, so he clamps his mouth and teeth around it and slowly turns it downward. It takes a long time, but finally the door swings open. In the hallway stand his parents, Greta, and the chief clerk. For a moment there is complete silence. They stare at the creature in the doorway. The curved armor, the long, thin legs moving restlessly, the dark eyes that no longer carry a familiar expression. Somewhere inside this body is still their Gregor, but they cannot recognize him. His mother presses her hands to her face and collapses backward. Greta lets out a frightened cry. The chief clerk steps back instinctively, as if confronted with a dangerous animal. His father turns pale. His posture stiffens. Gregor tries to speak. He wants to explain that he cannot go to work today, that he is ill, that everything will surely be resolved. But only guttural sounds and broken words emerge, more frightening than comforting. The chief clerk sees nothing human in the figure before him. Without another word, he turns and rushes toward the door, eager to leave the house as quickly as possible. The parents do not stop him. They are too focused on what stands before them. Then the mood shifts. Shock turns into rejection. The father grabs whatever is within reach, a newspaper, a cane, anything he can hold like a weapon. With rough movements, he drives Gregor back, away from the hallway, away from the others. Gregor retreats, step by step, leg by leg. He understands that his appearance inspires more fear than pity. Confused, exhausted, and inwardly wounded, he withdraws into his room. As he crosses the threshold, the door slams shut behind him. He is left alone in a room that was once familiar and now feels strangely foreign. The bed, the desk, the pictures on the wall all belong to his former life, but the body he inhabits does not. The sounds behind the closed door grow quieter, voices he no longer fully understands, footsteps fading away. Gregor lies on the floor, breathing heavily. For the first time, he allows a thought he has so far pushed aside, that this transformation is not just a morning mishap, but the beginning of a different, longer state, a life in which he and his family will no longer truly be able to reach one another. Part 2. A room becomes a cage. Behind the closed door, Gregor remains alone. The room is silent, almost oppressive. Only the faint scratching of his legs on the floor reminds him that it is truly him lying there in the half-darkness. The sounds from the hallway, shocked voices, heavy breathing, shuffling steps, slowly fade. The house sinks back into its morning routine. Gregor tries to stand, but every attempt ends in uncontrolled swaying or a collision with a piece of furniture. His new body follows no familiar pattern. Only gradually does he find a position that does not immediately topple, low to the ground, leaning slightly against the wall. And as he sits there awkwardly, a more bitter realization sets in. His family is afraid of him. Not because of anything he has done, but because he is no longer the person they know. As the morning passes, Gregor hears soft footsteps outside the door. It is Greta. She is the only one who still dares to come near him. After a brief hesitation, she opens the door just a crack, carefully places a bowl of milk and bread, Gregor's former favorite food, inside, and retreats again without looking in. Gregor smells the milk, but it awakens no hunger. His new body reacts differently. When he cautiously tastes it, he realizes how foreign the flavor has become. He can hardly swallow it. Eventually, he turns away and crawls into the darker corner of the room. When Greta returns later and sees that the milk is untouched, she is startled, but she remains calm. Without a word, she removes the bowl and brings new food the next day. Old vegetables, leftovers, bones, things usually thrown away. This time, Gregor eats. Greta never watches him. She only opens the door, sets down the bowl, and later takes it away. It becomes a silent agreement between them, the only connection he still has. While Greta tries to help, the father takes on a different role. Distance, severity, defense. Gregor never hears his footsteps near the door. He avoids the room deliberately. The mother wavers between compassion and fear. She wants to see Gregor, but nearly collapses whenever she even touches the door. The days pass, and the room changes subtly. At night, Gregor moves more confidently, crawls up the walls, explores corners he never reached before. The furniture feels more obstructive, the carpet like an obstacle. Familiar objects, such as the pictures on the wall, are still recognizable, but they feel like memories from another life. One day, Greta makes a decision. She decides to make the room more suitable for Gregor. That means less furniture, more space to crawl. She calls her mother, and together they begin moving the wardrobe, pushing chairs aside, clearing the walls. Gregor watches them and feels panic. The furniture is not just objects to him. It is the last bridge to his former existence. The bed, the desk, the dresser, all remind him that he was once a human being, a son, a brother. If that disappears, what remains of Gregor Samsa? He forces himself out of his corner to make himself visible, but when his mother suddenly sees him, half lifted against the wall, half twisted on the floor as he approaches, she is so terrified that she staggers back, covers her mouth, and nearly faints. Greta throws Gregor a quick, reproachful glance, as if he had intentionally done something wrong. Then she rushes to her mother and leads her out. The door closes, hard and final. Gregor remains standing in the middle of the half-empty room, uncertain and torn. He only wanted to show that he was still there, still part of their world. But with every reaction of his family, it becomes clearer. To them, he no longer is. He is a problem, a burden, an animal that is fed but not looked at. And as the furniture disappears and the dark corners grow larger, Gregor feels for the first time that something is slipping away that he held on to until the very end. The feeling of still being human. Part 3. A family under strain. The mood in the household changes noticeably now that Gregor can no longer work. His father, once discouraged and exhausted, suddenly wears an old but well-kept uniform and leaves the house every day. His mother sews for strangers. His sister works in a shop. Everyone takes on responsibilities, not out of enthusiasm, but because there is no alternative. Only Gregor remains behind. He sits in his room, hears the front door close in the morning, hears the footsteps fade, hears the apartment sink into an oppressive silence. And in that silence, he thinks of the years when he paid for everything. That the others must now work feels both just and unbearably bitter. Greta continues to come daily, but her tenderness fades. At first, she placed the food carefully, looked cautiously into his room, and almost lovingly called his name. Now she opens the door only briefly, the tray clatters, and she disappears again. The harder her own life becomes, the less remains for Gregor. It is not cruelty. It is exhaustion. Gregor's room becomes increasingly chaotic. He now often crawls along the walls, spends hours under the sofa or behind the curtain at the window. The more he moves, the more the boundary between human and animal blurs. Not by choice, but because his body demands it. One day, Greta places loud, clattering objects in the room: buckets, old junk, a basket of dirty laundry. The room slowly becomes a storage space. The message is clear. Gregor is no longer the center of concern. He is an afterthought, a shadow. Then visitors arrive, 3 lodgers who rent a room. They are picky, strict, demanding. Every disorder is criticized, every crumb noted. The family tries to appear perfect. There is something sad in this attempt. They want to seem normal, even though behind one door lives a son who no longer is one. One evening, the gentlemen sit in the living room while Greta plays the violin. Gregor hears the first notes and freezes. This music was once the most beautiful thing in his life. He loved Greta's talent, her devotion, those moments when he forgot how heavy life was. And now he hears it again, soft, warm, alive. Something draws him from his corner. He crawls slowly toward the door, as if the music were pulling him forward. Each note reminds him of who he once was, of the life he lost, of the sister he meant to protect. He opens the door slightly. In the living room, the family sits stiffly on chairs. The 3 gentlemen listen, not moved, but assessing. Their faces are stern and distant. Gregor moves farther into the room, slowly, quietly. He does not think of fear. He thinks only of the music. He crawls closer to Greta, not threateningly, but almost pleadingly, as if to say, "Please, keep playing." But when the gentlemen see him, they jump up in outrage. Chairs are knocked over. They shout about these scandalous conditions, immediately cancel their rooms, and threaten not to pay rent. For the family, this is the breaking point. Greta sets down the violin. She is pale, tense, deeply exhausted. Then she speaks the words Gregor never wanted to hear, quietly at first, then louder so that her father will hear. "We have to get rid of him." The mother protests weakly, but even her voice lacks conviction. The father nods grimly. Greta continues in an almost matter-of-fact tone. "If this were really Gregor, he would not torture us like this. We have to find a solution." Gregor hears everything. Every word cuts like a knife, not because he is angry, but because he knows they are right. He has no control over his life. He cannot help anyone. He cannot return. And so he slowly retreats back into his dark room, not in panic, but almost with dignity. For the first time since his transformation, he feels something like clarity. He knows what he must do. Part 4. Farewell. Gregor lies once more in his room. His sister's words echo in his mind, not angry, not cruel, but final. For the first time, he feels how foreign he has become to his own family. He had always believed they would endure as long as he remained quiet. Now he understands what he truly is to them: a burden, a shadow, a mistake of fate. He is weak. Little food, little sleep, little strength. The body that trapped him pulls him down further with each hour. The mattress feels hard. His legs tremble uncontrollably. Even breathing is difficult. But he is strangely calm. He thinks of all the years he worked to support his family, of sleepless nights in foreign hotel rooms, of long train journeys, of the pressure to be punctual, friendly, and never complain. Even then he felt trapped, only in a different body. Now he lies here and suddenly feels something close to relief. No anger, no despair, only quiet understanding. There is no way back, and no one has the strength to save him, not even himself. His final thought belongs to Greta, not the angry young woman of yesterday, but the girl who once told him stories and sat beside him on the sofa when he came home exhausted. He loves her, despite everything, as a brother. Then he slips away, quietly, without pain, without notice. When Greta opens the door the next morning, she knows immediately that it is over. No movement, no response, only silence. She fetches the father. The mother comes as well. All three stand at the entrance of the room, not celebrating, not cold, but with a mixture of exhaustion, grief, and relief. The chapter has ended, for him and for them. The caretaker is called. Gregor's body is removed without great effort. The family cleans the room, opens the windows, and breathes in fresh air for the first time in many months. At midday, the father spontaneously suggests a walk. It is a sunny day, one that shows life goes on. They go out together, as if it were the first day of a new chapter. The mother smiles for the first time in a long while, and Greta, who has suffered so much, suddenly seems almost grown. They sit on a park bench. The sun warms their faces. The parents look at Greta, tall now, slender, self-assured, and both think the same thought. It is time to move on, for all of them. That was our calm, short version of The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Perhaps you wondered whether Gregor Samsa is merely a victim of this family, or whether he also bears responsibility for his fate. Why care turns into rejection and closeness into indifference. And what this story reveals about Kafka's own life and his relationship with authority. We explore these and many more questions in our companion book, Golden Pages, Volume 1. The link can be found in the description. Good night. And if you like, we'll listen to each other again tomorrow.